Okay, so today we're here with Andrew Gulotta, best American accent I can muster. He's one of the producers over at Tsar DLC. We're going to ask him some questions about the night maps, the revolution of Battlefield, In the Name of the Tsar, maybe a couple of other things as well. So I want to start with Nivelle Nights. It's been a thing within the community for maybe a month, but maybe you could just give me a highlight of what Nivelle Nights is and what players can expect from the new map.
Yeah, happy to. So Nivelle Nights is the first night map for Battlefield 1, right? And our players have been asking for a couple of things, and this is our delivery on that. They've been asking for trenches and trench warfare. I want that. I want to get in the trenches. This is a trench map. You are fighting in the trenches, and it's actually really well set up. You have the Germans on one side and the French on the other. So this is an extension of They Shall Not Pass. It's a part of that expansion. So we're just expanding more of that story with Nivelle Nights and Prise de Terre. I am going to say that correct one day, but not today. So they're both expansions of the They Shall Not Pass. And so people were asking for trenches, and that's what you're going to get in both of these maps. And you're also going to get the night. That's what players are asking. Hey, we want more variety. We want to see some nights. So here is the night maps, and it's going to be, people are concerned. Some people have been asking me, can I see my enemies? Is this going to be super dark? How is this going to be effective? The night maps in Battlefield 4, we had our night vision. How am I going to use this? And it's we found a good balance, I think, and it's one of those things where we really we were really sensitive about how dark are we going to put this, and there's still going to be some dark places you can hide and you can use those to your advantage, but overall I think we should call it it's sort of like a Hollywood lighting, right? It's a Hollywood night where you still can see people around you. You can still kind of get a good glimpse. You might see a silhouette running across the tops of the land, and you can take the shot. We saw a lot of that in yesterday's live stream, which was really great. It was such an amazing battle. But there's going to be some other tactics that players can use. There's flares, and there's other things that you can use to kind of get yourself a little bit more visibility on the battlefield. So that's kind of it for Nivelle Nights. It's a really great map that's going to be. It takes you on the French soil. The Germans were trying to advance against the French. The French did this. This is part of this is based off the Nivelle offensive, and they did some artillery shelling to try to weed out the Germans from their trenches. But little did they know how well enforced those trenches were. And you can tell on the map. The map has, on the German side, they have all of these electrical outlets, and there's searchlights, and there's metal paneling, and so it's really enforced. And then on the French side, it was a little bit more organic, right? They had wood and they had fire. They weren't really set up to fight for the long haul. They thought this was going to be a short battle, but it turned out to be much longer than they wanted. But so we wanted to kind of tell that story. But it also helps you find your way in the map. If you're on the German side or the French side, you can get a really good glimpse of that. There might be a couple of other little hidden gems in there. And one of which is if you control certain points, you're able to actually fire a flare up in the air. And that's going to help you spot some of the enemies around certain points. And you can kind of get a good glimpse of who's around in those areas. So this is there's the night maps are incredible. There's a lot of great little features in there, and of course we really double down and try to bring as high quality that we can to these maps.
Well, that's good to know that you've got a good standard to set. It's interesting to hear, though, that a night map, a lot of people think, just turn the lights out. It doesn't work like that. Clearly not. And having seen it on the community test environment when you first put it on there, spoken to a couple of the designers about the work that even went in at that stage, saying, how do we get the lighting right here? Is this what you want? Is it not? And then to now see it on the live stream yesterday and just look at some of the visual changes. You've gone from a very sort of sparse layout to something that's got a lot more cover in there. There's a lot of undulation in the turf. You've got that central zone, the no man's land as well. So you can see just how much work has gone into it. And of course, that's just one of the maps. We've also got Prise de Terre, which we haven't spoken much about, and I'm sure we'll learn more about that over the coming month or so as we get closer to that one's release. And that's a completely different flavor of combat as well. So yeah, definitely looking forward to those night maps. Now, moving forward, obviously, we've got beyond those 2 night maps, we have the Revolution, a rather sizable update to Battlefield 1, in the name of the Tsar. I was wondering if you could maybe just give me some high-level points, because a lot of people who watched the teaser yesterday, they saw some good stuff in there, but maybe they didn't just catch everything there is to know at the moment about this new upcoming expansion.
Yeah, of course. This is the most extensive expansion pack we've ever shipped. We're moving players from the Western Front, all right? We've been playing on the Western Front, we've been fighting over there, and now we're moving to the Eastern Front, and this is our introduction to the Russian Empire. And so, in order to really pay tribute to the monumental size of the Eastern Front, we thought about this and like, how can we do this, and what is the best way to show just how big this is, and it dawned on us to move from 4 maps to 6. Right, this is a big place. So now we have 6 maps going into this pack to tell a bigger story. The story of the Russians, their involvement in World War I, how critical they were to the Eastern Front, how they fought the Austro-Hungarians, how they fought the Germans, and this is a really great introduction, I think, to the history, the rich history that's on that side. So, what does it come with? So we have 6 maps, right? We're also, and I can go into more detail about those, but I wanted to kind of gloss over a little bit more detail what's in there, and then we can go back. So we have the 6 maps. We have the Russian Empire. So you're getting the army. Including with that army is, of course, you have your class selections, the new classes, the regular classes that you always get, but the Russian army. But then we also are including the Women's Battalion of Death, and this is the first time that we're having a female playable character in multiplayer. And she is she's represented as a scout class and in the Russian side. So if you play the scout, you're going to be playing as the Women's Battalion of Death, and this was true to history. I mean, these women were both capable and courageous, and they would charge the front lines, and they would sometimes not be supported by the rest of the Russian army. They would not charge along with them because they thought it was certain death. But these women would take the front lines, and they would take on other trenches and gain ground all on their own. So we had to have them in the game. The next stuff that you get, of course, with Russian army is you're going to get some of the Russian toys, and what better way to represent that is with some of the vehicles, right? We have an armored truck, the Pudilov Garford coming out. We have the Ilya Muromets, the biggest bomber in Battlefield 1, and we're also introducing a Y-Lighter landing craft. This is a boat that's going to transport players on water. And we also are introducing a new cavalry class, the Hussar, and this is one of my favorites. And you are now going to be equipped with a lance. So gone are the days of running up with the horse, stopping and swinging your saber. Right? The horse is meant to run, and the horse is meant to move. And so this is a chance for you to be able to do quick attacks on the battlefield and be able to impale your enemies and get them out of the way and off the field, so that way your troops can advance. So this is a whole new way of playing as the cavalry unit. And we're also introducing 11 new weapons in this pack. I mean, we're doubling down, and that is just the guns. I mean, we're not even talking about melee weapons. I'm not talking about variants. I'm talking about these are 11 unique weapons that are going to be in the pack. And I can talk about a few right now. At EA Play, we have 5 weapons that we're showing, including the Fedorov Automat, which is an asked weapon from our community. People have been wanting this. Maybe some people haven't, but I think this is going to be a great weapon. I love it. It's a medic class weapon. You get a choice to be able to whether you want to do a single shot or you want to do a multi-burst. So this is going to be a great weapon for the medic. Then we also have a Model 1900 double barrel shotgun, and it sits with the assault class. It's fitting for the assault. It packs a punch. It's a monster, but you are committed, right? So once you fire those 2 shots, you got a long reload ahead of you. So you better be sure that you landed that shot. And then we also have the Parabellum. This gun, the LMG Parabellum, is for the support class, and it's got a really unique reloading sequence, and this is something you've never seen before, and I can't wait for everyone listening to be able to actually see this. It is so crazy. It's amazing. The next one, and this is for the scout, is the Mosin Nagant M81, and this thing is great. Or 91, M91. This thing is great. I got it right. The Mosin again, M91, and this is the This is a bolt-action rifle, and you're going to be able to take some great shots with this. Of course, we also are showing off a new secondary weapon, the Nagant revolver, and this thing's a nice slim revolver to take on the battlefield. Packs a great punch, and it actually looks amazing. So those are some of the great features, like just some of the content that's part of that. But we're also doing something revolutionary, as we've been talking about, right? Like the revolution is coming, right? And I mean, on the Eastern Front, the revolution was brewing, and it was fitting for us to try to do some things that are going to change the game. And so we're also looking at ways of improving the gameplay in two very key areas. One is progression, and the other one is operations. And so these are the two areas that we really wanted to focus on and find ways that we can make them better and improve them in big, big ways.
Well, there you go. That's probably the best overview you're going to get of the Russian DLC. It's really interesting to hear that you've taken such a different approach with this expansion. And I think a lot of people have been maybe surprised by the fact that you're going out of your way to, like, as you say, double down on a lot of things that a normal expansion pack would consist with. And the link between the Russian army being a huge influence on World War I, you can make that link between the two. And looking at it, and the new weapons that are coming, some of those names that you've mentioned, the Fedorov Avtomat, a lot of people have asked for that. But I think the iconic things like the Mosin Nagant bolt-action rifle, people expect that from the Russian army. Very iconic weapon, and it's good that you guys have got that in there. One of the most surprising is the Woman's Battalion of Death. And as you say, the first time a female soldier has been introduced into the Battlefield multiplayer experience. Was it a challenge for you guys at DICE to really make that happen, or is it very similar in your approach to just putting a male soldier? Because of course you're going to have to record different voice acting and things like that. So maybe just could you answer that question?
Yeah, I'm happy to answer that. So yes, so here's the thing. So I can answer that on two fronts. So first of all, it's like making that decision. Was that difficult? Was it difficult to kind of get that in as a non-logistical thing? So I'll answer that, and then of course the logistics of doing that and how difficult that could be. So first of all, anytime we're trying to add something to the game, we are always focused on being authentic. We want to make sure that what we're doing stays true to the theme and the world that we're building. And so this is World War I. As we dove in and we saw that these women were real, and one of the pillars of Battlefield 1 is to tell untold stories. And this is something I wasn't aware of until I started to really dive into the Russian involvement in the war. And we came across the Women's Battalion of Death, and we saw how incredible these women were. And it's just, of course, it was a no-brainer. And it was not hard for us to make that decision very quickly. We have to have them in the game. Now, you're right, as far as actually doing the work, yes, that takes some time. We spend some time doing some audio recording. We did not have female voices in multiplayer before, so we had to, of course, do a slew of rounds of recording, and it was a very intense setup. I mean, the way that we do it, to do the award-winning audio that you hear in Battlefield 1, it takes a lot of effort. And so it did take some time, but we have some great audio experts that are part of the DICE family, and they just executed well on that. So you can actually hear it on the Lepkow Pass map when she's stabbing an enemy or firing a gun or maybe sometimes taking damage, or calling out where enemies are. But it's really incredible just to hear a woman's voice on the battlefield for the first time in this kind of capacity. Some of the other kind of difficulties that we might run into is just how do we create that face? How do we make this woman look woman and womanly? And of course, like what we ended up doing was we have this amazing box art of the Women's Battalion of Death. I mean, she looks incredible. And so we wanted to take that same image and put her in the game, and so we did. So it took some scanning, it took some effort to kind of really get the right look, and we really I think we nailed it in the game. So when you look at the woman that's in the game, it's the same one that's in our key art.
It's been a very varied reaction to what you've done for this DLC, and of course you're always going to get that. People have got their opinion and they're going to voice it, but I think it's great that you've got some diversity in there. And I think as well, without really having to ask you this question, it gives you the opportunity to do something like that again in the future with Battlefield. You've done it here, you've seen the reaction, it's opened the door for you guys to potentially move forward with the franchise in the future and do something similar in that fashion again, which is great to see. It's like another step along the way. You mentioned very briefly about the progression. I don't know if you can go into any detail, but there are a lot of people out there that like to have things in their paths that they can achieve going along the way. Has it been a concern to you, really, that there wasn't enough before, or is it just that you guys have decided with this larger DLC and expansion that you're creating that you thought, right, we're going to go in again and just add a load more than we've ever added before?
You know, I think that we have a really great progression system that in Battlefield. I mean, in the history of Battlefield, right? When you look at all of the games, there's always been stuff to go after. With Battlefield 1, I feel like that's no different. There are things to go after with medals, and now with ribbons that came out with the winter update, and you also have you know, of course, XP and other things, and then the weapon assignments that came out with it, and They Shall Not Pass. So there's a lot of these like progression systems, but what we found is that we wanted to kind of add more. We wanted something, not just add more codex and more stuff, but we wanted to add more kind of something bigger to this. So what we decided to do, and I can tell you this, and then but what I can't say is we are gonna have a lot more to say at Gamescom. But I'll tell you just a little bit that I can say, and it's this: that what we are gonna do is we're going to be introducing all new assignments, and this is gonna be kind of the something that's gonna help the player have something to go after in a big way, that's going to help them advance their careers, and as you do so, you're gonna find yourself unlocking some specializations, and these specializations are really unique in that they're gonna help you tailor your classes to your playstyle, and that's all I can say right now. I wish I could tell you guys some more because it is so crazy. I can't wait to share more, but that's all I can say right now.
I think you've probably set the comments section on fire there. But no, that's really good to hear, because I think a lot of people have been concerned that they get to a certain point with the game. A lot of people will play the game a huge amount. Some people might only play on a Friday night. And those people that do play the game more than others, I think were looking for something more. And up until this point, perhaps Battlefield 1 didn't include it. But the fact that you've gone into a little bit of detail there, very little bit of detail, that's encouraging. It's good to hear. Well, overall, thank you very much for answering my questions as much as you can. I know the guys out there are going to appreciate it. And hopefully I'm going to tie this video together with some In the Name of the Tsar gameplay. I think I'm going to save this for that because I think it's more going into detail on those maps. But thank you very much for answering my questions. And yeah, I wish you luck with the revolution of Battlefield, as it's called.
Yeah, thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here, and thank you for having me.